Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Some people say that there are contradictions in the hadith because one hadith says one thing and one hadith says another thing. Okay, hadith is a science. For example, in the beginning of Islam, and this hadith is in Bukhari, it was permissible to marry somebody, fulfill their desires and then divorce them. But later on, that hadith was made haram. Okay, now you might say this is ridiculous, but you have to understand the mind of the people of those times. We are thinking about this hadith with a 2023 mind. When you go back 1,400 years, it was a normal thing amongst the community to use women. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wisdom to get this bad habit out of the lives was given permission in the beginning until they had increased in iman. Once they had increased in iman, now this hadith had become nullified and it had become a haram act. Okay, and you had to marry, when you married a wife, you had to be married to her. Okay, now the Shia, they still use this hadith as an authenticity, and they do this, they go and they marry a girl, make her pregnant, and then they leave her just for their desires, So, but they don't realize that this hadith has been abrogated. This happened in most of the situations. For instance, Hazrat Aisha radhiallahu anha said that if the command, this is also in the Quran, ayats, verses were abrogated. Some people say that there are contradictions in the Quran. They don't know that the hadith, they don't know the Quran. For instance, Aisha said that if the command for covering up had come to us in the Meccan period, we would not have been able to fulfill that. She was saying this in Medina. Why? Because the level of iman at that time, was not strong enough to fulfill that command. But as iman grew, then later on that, when the command came to cover up, they fulfilled it. The same with alcohol. There are a few verses in the Quran mentioning alcohol. Some of these verses seem to give permission to drink alcohol, but then there is another verse of the Quran which forbids alcohol. So this is a contradiction according to you, but it's not a contradiction because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches by stages. People were alcoholics in those days. The situation in Mecca was really bad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the first ayat, that you can drink when you drink alcohol, do not approach the mosque. So he wasn't forbidding them to drink alcohol, but in that condition, don't approach the mosque. As iman increased, as the effort on iman grew, later on the final command came that alcohol is haram, then they could give it up easily. The same way with slavery. You see, slavery is a bad thing. Everybody agrees with that. But in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, slavery was as common as buying a loaf of bread. So it's something that you cannot lift up of from the society in one go. If you do, there will be riots. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wisdom, revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that doing certain acts, there are certain, kind of like giving sadaqah and so on and so forth, is equal to freeing of so many slaves, and it was also emphasized to free slaves. You will get so much reward for freeing slaves. So everybody was racing to do these good acts and to free slaves until eventually slavery was uplifted. In America in 1922, they tried to ban alcohol. Some people were hanged. Thousands were put in prison. Millions of dollars were spent on fines, but it still did not solve the problem. Why? Because there was no effort on the money. It was a law that came in straight away. It's not the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things. They've done it according to man-made laws. You are forbidden to drink alcohol, and so they were punished. And the people rebelled until eventually, I can't remember how long it was, 5 years or 10 years, something like that, a small period of time. Then they had to abandon that law. So the Quran is correct. There is not a single fault in the Quran. You just have to know the knowledge of Quran. Inshallah. May Allah give you all a tawfiq to understand, inshallah.